Hello everyone, this is Venom, and today we're going to be talking about the Ergo Sum sword. This is the Guardian sword from the final shape that just released. Now the Ergo Sum is a special ammo sword. It's the first special ammo sword we've ever gotten in Destiny or Destiny 2. It is a very fun weapon, and just like Prismatic and the exotic class items that are going to be coming out next week, the swords actually roll with different exotic weapon perks on them. So the swords actually roll with random frame types, they roll with random perks, and they roll with random exotic effects. I'm going to be going over all those different rolls here. I've used every one of them, I've tested them out. But before we do that, I'm going to tell you guys how to actually get your first roll and how to start farming it. So first off, obviously, you need to have the final shape, and you need to beat the campaign. Once you beat the campaign, you will unlock a quest in the post-game called Destined Heroes. Finish that quest line up, and when you finish it, you're going to get your first roll of Ergo Sum. You can then immediately start farming for different rolls. Now, the first way and the easiest way to get Ergo Sum rolls is going to be doing the overthrow missions in the Pale Heart. They are match-made missions you can do, especially just a series of public events you knock out, and once you do so many of them, you will fight a boss and you will get a guaranteed Ergo Sum, along with some chances at some deep sight weapons. Now, the other way you can farm from it is going to be doing the Pathfinder for the Pale Heart. Now, by doing the Pathfinder, you can actually get 2 rolls per week. Doing the Pathfinder, you can reset it, get another one. You can see I've done on mine for the week. This takes a bit longer. You can kind of do these as you're doing the overthrow. So I would probably do those in parallel, but that's another way you can get your Ergo Sums. But the main way you're going to be farming this is going to be doing those overthrows. So if you want some Ergo Sums, you want those different rolls, go ahead and start farming the overthrow. Now, again, the Ergo Sum is a special ammo weapon. You do not have to use heavy ammo for this. This runs off of special. So you can use this a lot more often than you could just a regular heavy sword, although it does pick up slightly less ammo than a regular sword does. Honestly, I don't think I've ever run out of ammo using this, especially using the one I'm showing you right now, which I'll go over in just a little bit. Now, everything on the sword is going to be random perk-wise except for the element. The element is going to be tied to what the exotic effect is on the sword. There are 8 different exotic effects. I've tested them all, and I'm going to go over them all with you right now, but those elements are going to be tied to the exotic effects. That part's not random. Everything else is going to be random on it, except for the Transcendent Duelist. That is the effect that's the Tratus on it. It's going to be on every single sword. Now, last time, before I go through all of the different effects, I want to say one more time, all these swords can roll with different effects, including their frame types. So remember, you can get wave frames, you can get vortex frames, you can get caster frames, you can get aggressive frames, and you can get lightweight frames. Each one of these swords can be any one of these frames. I've gotten quite a bit in different frames, and some I like with certain frames, some I like with others. So I'm going to go over each one of those. Now, we're going to start off with my favorite Ergo Sum, and that is going to be the Arc Conductor one. And it says, powered heavy attacks charge your wielder, enabling them to resist arc damage and chain lightning to nearby enemies. This effect is based off of the Risk Runner, although this one has a bit of a different effect. Instead of having to just attack enemies to get this chain lightning effect, once you use your heavy attack and you've got that lightning shield around you, just walking close to enemies will cause that chain lightning to go out. And that chain lightning counts as sword damage, it counts as a kill. So it's also going to work with the seasonal artifact perk, Blade Stamina. Blade Stamina says, rapidly defeating combatants with a sword refunds some ammo. I use this a lot to take out just groups of red bar enemies. Use your heavy attack to get your lightning proc, just walk by them, it wipes them out, and will refund the ammo to you. It is really, really fun to do. Now, obviously, Blade Stamina is only a seasonal perk, so you're not going to have that next season. However, it's still really, really fun to do, so go ahead and give it a try. Now, this is a good sword to have in any frame except for aggressive. I really don't like the aggressive frames. But past that, every other frame type is going to work great for this one. I do have a lightweight frame on mine, so that's the one that I personally like to use. And again, it's just my favorite one I like. It's always going to be the Arc element, so keep that one in mind. And again, this is the Arc Conductor one. This is based off the Risk Runner. Next up, we've got the Wolfpack Rounds version. This is one that was a surprise to the entire community. You get Wolfpack Rounds on a sword. This, of course, is based off the Gjallarhorn rocket launcher. It says, powered heavy attacks cause nearby sword wielders to emit tracking missiles with every attack. Use your heavy attack with this sword, and then any attack you or your teammates do with a sword, if it is a light attack, it will launch 1 missile. If it is a heavy, it will launch 3. Now keep in mind, if it is a heavy attack, you do have to have a full heavy charge to get that to work. So make sure you got a full heavy charge, and then when you use that heavy attack, it's going to launch 3 missiles. Now, this is not going to work with exotic swords. It's just like the Gjallarhorn rocket launcher. It only works when your teammates are using legendary rocket launchers. The same thing for the Ergo Sum. Your teammates have to be using legendary swords to get Wolfpack Rounds to proc. Their screens will say it's proc till they got on a legendary sword, but it will not launch any missiles.
I'm not getting any.
It's not even saying Pack Hunter's procced?
It's saying Pact Hunter's procced, but at least on Black Talon, I'm not seeing any additional explosives.
Alright.
Look at me, I'm invisible. Woo. Pack Hunter is procced on Heart Shadow.
It
says it's packed.
No. You get it appearing on the side, but you don't get any of the little orby boys
correct,
popping out.
But at least it says it's procced.
Unless they were also using Ergo Sums themselves. That's right. Ergo Sum does proc with other Ergo Sums. I tested this out. I had 2 teammates bring all the exotic swords in the game with them. We tested it out. It would proc. It would say that the Wolfpack rounds are procking, but no rounds were actually coming out. Now, I did have another teammate who did have an Ergo Sum. We tested it out. He had a different version than mine. We tested it. Both of us were able to proc it. So I procced it, and his Ergo Sum did proc the missile. So this does work with other Ergo Sums. Now, as far as a frame type, again, I like anything except for aggressive frame types. If you like the aggressives for like maybe a Titan, that's great. If you're using something like Wolfpack rounds on this one, you may want a caster frame. Personally, I've got a caster on this one, so it is kind of fun to use this one to launch a caster and the missiles as well. And of course, this one actually kind of shocked me a bit because it's going to be arc, even though the Galahorn itself was a solar. For some reason, they went ahead and made this one an arc type. So the Wolfpack rounds will be an arc type. It is a very, very fun one, and this is probably going to be a very, very popular choice, especially on bosses like Crota. Next up, we have got the Insectoid Robot Grenades. This one is from the Colony Grenade Launcher. This is going to be a Void type for the element, and the effect says, defeated targets drop insectoid robots that chase and explode close to other targets. This feels like a weakened version of the Wolfpack rounds. This one does take kills. You don't have to do like heavy attacks. Instead, you can just do all light attacks. You can, get a kill with a light attack, and it will then track enemies next to you. This one is not bad. I've only gotten this one to drop an aggressive frame. I don't particularly like it. This one will probably work better in a lightweight frame. However, like I said, this one, I don't like this one as much as I do the Wolfpack rounds one. However, it's still not a bad one. There are a couple of bad swords I saw in there or rolls I don't particularly like. This one is not bad. I would say this one, maybe a caster frame or a lightweight frame will be best. In fact, I'd say probably a caster frame would be best. Use it at range, and then that robot will take out another enemy nearby. But yeah, this is another one. It's kind of like a dumbed down version of the Wolfpack rounds. If you get Wolfpack rounds, I'd probably rather use that one than this one, but this one's still pretty fun anyway. All right, next up we've got the Unplanned Reprieve perk. This one says powered heavy attacks emit projectiles that detonate with a delayed void blast. This one is, of course, based off of the one and only Telesto. That's right, Telesto is a sword now. Now, this is going to be a void form, and I'm going to be honest. When I initially tested this out, I did not like it because the projectiles, the explosions, are delayed explosions. Now, I eventually did go ahead and test it against the boss. Against the boss, it works fine. The explosions aren't delayed. I've got a caster frame here, and when I use my caster, the explosions would actually just explode as soon as it hit the boss. However, if you're not fighting a boss and you're fighting like ads, the explosions will drop to the ground, and then they're kind of useless. Unless something walks over them, it's not really going to do much. However, against the boss, this was effective. So, like I said, initially I was testing this out. Everything I was killing was basically dying very quickly, so the projectiles weren't going anywhere, the bombs weren't going anywhere. However, this is going to be one that you're definitely going to want to use for single target boss DPS. So, this used to be my least favorite DPS weapon, my least favorite DPS sword. However, this one is not going to be bad. This one is going to be actually pretty good. Go ahead and use this one. It's going to be best for single target DPS boss fights. Now, there are others I might want to use instead of this one because this is going to be very ammo hungry. You have to keep using your heavy attack. However, this one is not going to be very bad. It's not going to be very bad. It's going to be pretty good. It's got void on it, so it's going to work with the volatile rounds perk, so go ahead and use this one. This is not too bad. Telesto as a sword form is better than Telesto as a fusion rifle. Next up, we've got the Sacred Flame. The Sacred Flame says powered heavy attacks mark nearby targets, causing them to explode upon death. Striking more targets with a light attack detonates them. This is going to be a solar type, and this is one that I would use in probably a lightweight frame to get those attacks off quick. I've got a vortex frame on this one. I don't particularly like it. I'm trying to get a lightweight frame. But, yeah, this is one where, just use the heavy attack and then use light attack. It causes a pretty big explosion. And, yeah, that's pretty much it. This is a pretty decent DPS one. I did like this one against single target DPS. I did go through a lot of ammo quickly because I'm using a lot of heavy attacks. But, yeah, either way, I still like this one as a single target DPS one. It's a very good solar sword. I did like this one. Not my favorite, but it's not a bad one. This is not a bad one at all. This is a good one you can use for DPS, and it causes some pretty good explosions, which will also do some AoE damage. So this is one I would recommend, especially for any solar builds. Next up, we've got the Stormbringer, and it says, rapid final blows create a lightning storm at the target's location. This is going to be based off of the Cloud Strike Sniper. This is going to be an archetype, and this is probably the second one that I don't like or really recommend. Now, if this one just worked off of getting rapid hits and not kills, I'd probably like this one better. However, typically you need to get like 3 kills for this thing to proc. Is like 2 or 3 kills. Usually when you've killed enough enemies like that, there's not many left over in the area. You're not really going to be doing single target boss DPS unless that boss also happens to have a lot of adds underneath them. Then you can get the Cloud Strike to strike on top of that boss. But again, there are other swords that do a lot better job at the single target DPS than this one. And the Cloud Strike is not really great in groups. Again, for most groups you're fighting, typically by the time you get this to proc, the groups are going to be gone, or it's not going to be doing enough damage or taking enough of them out to really make it worth it. So, again, if you can find a way to use this one a bit more effectively, let me know, but this is one I tested out, and I personally did not like it. Alright, next up, we've got the Gathering Light. This one is going to be based off the Traveler's Chosen Sidearm. And it says, final blows with this weapon grant stacks of Gathering Light, improving guard stats and lunge range. Storing this weapon consumes all stacks, granting melee, grenade, and class ability energy. This is also going to be a void type. Basically, you're not going to be using any special attacks with this one. You're just going to be using this one as a regular sword. And then as you use it, the stats of the sword itself go up. So this is probably a good one to use on a Titan using these strongholds. And then once you put it away, it's going to give you energy back for all your abilities. So this is a great one to get your abilities back. This is one you may be able to make use of in like Grand Masters or like a raid or something. You can do some pretty good damage with it. This is one where you're going to definitely want to use like a sword build that you're going to be using a lot of class abilities on. So again, I'm thinking definitely a Titan build that's using strongholds and also maybe like some strand. This will all feed into it and help with those abilities. So this is a very good one. It's solid. I like it. It'll also probably work with like a Jafalcus build for the Hunter because this is void. And to get a bunch of kills with this, you can then swap off of it to get your dodge back and invisibility. It's got some pretty good build potential. And finally, we've got the Perfect Fifth. This is going to be based off the Polaris Land Scout Rifle. And it says every 5 hits attaches a delayed solar explosive, scorching your target. This one is going to be a solar type. And this is one that's probably going to be the easiest to use for a single target boss DPS. You don't got to worry about going back and forth between heavy attacks and light attacks. Just go crazy on the light attacks. And just like the Polaris Lance, every 5 hits is going to be an explosion. So for this one, I would either recommend using a Vortex Grenade to get multiple hits off of it, or more than likely just use a lightweight frame to get more hits more often. I would definitely suggest the lightweight frame. I'm trying to get a lightweight for this one. I've currently got a Vortex, but I would definitely go with the lightweight frame. Alright, that is all 8 of the different types of swords. We're going to talk about the Transcendent Duelist perk next. It says this weapon collects less ammo. Final blows with this weapon accelerate light and dark mastery, and deals increased damage while Transcendent. Defeating targets lengthens Transcendent. This is definitely made for Prismatic. You do not have to use this just for Prismatic, unlike the class items coming out. You can still use this with Prismatic. However, this is definitely made to work with Prismatic. Now, the thing about it collecting less ammo, I honestly have not noticed myself running out of ammo or getting too dangerously close to it. Now keep in mind, I have been using the Arc Conductor, the Risk Runner build, and I've been using the seasonal mod, Blade Stamina, so quite often I'm just getting a bunch of ammo back, but I am also built up and built into actually getting additional reserves and getting additional ammo for this sword as well. So, you probably won't run out of ammo too often, but if you are, go ahead and build in for it and you're probably going to be fine. And that is it. That is the Ergo Sum. That's all the different rolls you can get, and that is the basics on how they work and how to get them. That's going to do it for me for today, too. This is a very fun weapon to farm for. It is a fun weapon to use. I highly suggest you go ahead and grab one if you have not. Please leave a like on the video if you like what we're doing here. If you love what we're doing, please sub to the channel, and I will see you all on the next video.